day 18, practicing self-compassion. So we're going to jump straight into it, and straight into it is what is the difference between self-esteem and self-compassion? What is the difference? Okay, so let's get into it. So self-esteem is a judgment of your self-worth, okay, often based on success or comparison to others. Self-compassion is a kinder, non-judgmental way of treating yourself during suffering. This was I referenced this when I was doing my research. I got it from the Good Therapy San Diego. But let's look at some key points of self-esteem. Self-esteem, the focus of that is evaluating your worth. This means that you compare or you try and be better than average, right? And then the nature of it is conditional. It changes with achievements, failure, and external validations. So people that suffer from self-esteem issues, they compare their self and their value for themselves, their worth, to someone else. So if this person, it can be someone that's average, and they're saying, and you compare yourself like, well, if I could just be good as that, well, okay, I got one trait that I'm better than in that person. You're always trying to find the flaw in someone else to make you feel good about yourself. That's what the self-esteem issue, and it's conditional. It always changes. Whatever group, you become like a chameleon. You end up in this group, and now you're trying to find where you fit in by comparing yourself to everyone in that group. So those are downfalls. That's why it's conditional, and it goes with achievement. So today, if you decided, or today, let's say you got a viral video, right? And now all of a sudden it boosted your confidence, and you feel like, okay, great, I got an achievement. But then tomorrow you make a video and it does no numbers at all. Now you're knocking yourself down and comparing yourself to that. Now you're trying to achieve something, recreate something to make it happen again. You're always going to compare yourself to something. So the reaction to failure, when you have self-esteem issues, you become defensive and you become defensive, leading to harsh self-criticism or withdrawal. So in that mix, okay, I'm trying to give you guys examples of that. A person with self-esteem issues, since they always compare themselves to someone, and then when they fail or don't meet the expectations or do the numbers like that person. So let's look at it like this. You find someone and you may take to them. Let's say this. It's a lot of people it's weird people out there. It's weird people. So you have someone that will see your work. They'll befriend you to try and say, okay, well, I like that. And then they become admirers of that. But then they start comparing themselves to you, which causes a competition on their end only. And then when they don't make the numbers like you make, then all of a sudden now they're in their feelings. Now they become weird, and they start disconnecting or pulling away or giving attitude or not support, and they start doing those type things. And those are clear signs of self-esteem issues. And then they talk down on themselves and they go to God like, God, why not me? You know, what we've been talking about when I tell you, folks will go to God and say, I want this person life, because they see their glory. But then when God put them in alignment to have what that person have, they can't handle it. And the reason why they can't handle it, because you are not built for their story. You see their glory, but you don't know their story. So people with self-esteem issues, they have a drawback. And it will end up becoming narcissism or anxiety driven. That's what will live within them. They will become narcissistic and anxiety driven because they're so focused on trying to compare themselves to someone else. But self-compassion, a person that understands self-compassion as self-love, that is my job, to teach you how to pour into yourself, become the best version of yourself. This is how you heal. First, you have to love yourself. So that's what these classes are about. So come on in, get your notebook. Self-compassion, they focus on treating yourself with kindness. You treat yourself with kindness. You nurture. The nurturing of it is unconditional. It's always available regardless of any circumstances. So not like self-esteem issues. Self-esteem issues, I'm going to evaluate or compare myself to someone else. And self-compassion, I'm going to treat myself with kindness, meaning that I am here in the same thing. It's kind of like me. I'm a life coach, and there's so many other life coaches out there. And this is something that's so real. And I try and tell people this. I don't go and follow the next life coach. I'm not saying in a way I don't support. What I'm saying is I don't try and copy their style. I don't try and do it like they do it. I don't try and follow them. I don't try and pick up some notes from them. I don't do that because I understand that who I am and what my purpose is, it stands. It stands on its own, just me being my true authentic self, which keeps me in the self-compassion versus self-esteem. When you have other coaches that may come in and compare, like we just talked about, and they'll try and tear you down to make themselves feel better about themselves. But when you show up with self-compassion, you treat yourself with kindness. And it's unconditional, meaning that when I mess up, or if I don't put an assignment out, or if I don't do something right, I'm not going off of what somebody else say. I'm not going off about how someone else do it. I'm going off about how I feel like, okay, I could have put a little bit more into that. So next time I'm going to do better. I didn't say, oh man, I messed up, man. They're going to talk about it. I did not say I'll go and re-edit everything to make it sound perfect. What I do is I identify that, hey, there was a mistake. Okay, I could do this a little bit better, and next time I'm going to do this. Okay? And so the reaction to failure when you're in self-compassion is you recognize it as a shared human experience, humanity, and offer support, self-kindness. Like I just said, I speak kind words over myself, and I say, okay, listen, it's all right. Things happen. It's not like you were born doing this. You're learning along the way. Right? And then the benefits of that is your well-being becomes more stable. And then there's less criticism and greater emotional clarity. And with that emotional clarity, you're able to become emotionally intelligent. As I've been teaching you guys what emotional intelligence is, it is so important in your self-love healing journey to become emotionally intelligent, because you can give the correct response to that emotion, which is going to cause a feeling. Right? Which then will cause an action. Your outcome will be way better than you reacting from a poor self-esteem issue, problem, unhealed. So let's look at an example of self-esteem. This is something you may think to yourself, I'm a loser because I failed the test. Because you're comparing yourself to this grading scale and everybody else in the class and everybody else in your family. You're comparing yourself to something. But self-compassionate person, a healed version of yourself, you would think or say, this test was hard and I feel bad, because you do, because you wanted to do good. But everyone struggles sometimes. I'll be kind to myself and try it again. But this time when I try it again, I'm going to make sure that I do a little bit more than what I did before. So maybe I didn't study as much. So I can put in a little bit more effort. I didn't give myself I gotta get I gotta get an A. I gotta get this. I didn't do that. What I did was I did not like the grade I got because it was unacceptable to me, not the class, not the people, not the teacher, not the grading scale, not my family, but to me. I want to do better. So I'm going to apply myself a little bit better, because that's the healed version of me. So let's jump into number 2. Why self-compassion reduces anxiety and perfectionism. Okay. So this is for the people that strives for perfection. Or that just wants flawlessness. They just got to be flawless, right? So self-compassion reduces anxiety and perfectionism. Perfectionism is striving for flawlessness. Let's jump into that. Let's talk about that. So why it reduces anxiety? It reduces it by, harsh self-criticism talk with kindness. It replaces that harsh self-criticism talk, but you replace it with kindness. You normalizing flaws as a shared human experience, meaning that everybody makes mistakes. It's not just you. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. Everybody makes mistakes. Guess what? Somewhere, somehow, somebody has failed a test. Listen, every multimillionaire that's out there has failed at some point. The problem is they don't tell you the whole story. They allow you to see their glory, and then they get you right to that point when it took off. They don't go through all the times that they made the mistake and say, okay, so I tried this, I got out of alignment and I did it my way and it messed up and that took 2 years off of it. And then I had to learn. They don't go through the whole process. So you're stuck in the void of trying to piece years together of his multi-million, billion-dollar success. And you're trying to piece 2 years of his story together to create that when it was a lifetime thing. It started as a child anyway. So it's a human experience. This will lessen the fear of failure and allow growth rather than dwelling on mistakes. Okay. And also, this will then lower stress and allow you to create a safer space for taking risk and learning. Also, will lead to greater motivation and well-being. So first, you're going to start by replacing the harsh words, the harsh self-criticism, replacing that with kindness, right? Negative self-talk with positive self-talk. And then doing that will lessen the fear of failure and allow you to grow. And then it will help lower the stress when you think of it in a positive mindset, lower the stress, which will allow you to create a safer space for taking risks, which will lead to what? Motivation and well-being, a better motivational state, giving you that drive to want to go. But as we talked about yesterday, the difference between motivation, right? Motivation, remember, motivation is temporary. Motivation is to get you crunk in that moment. It's temporary. It can die out. It can do away. You can still fall into depression after the motivation, because motivation is just to get your attention. But then what do you do afterwards? It's motivate you, and then your well-being, meaning you're about to do something because your overall well-being needs to be checked. Now, ways that reduce anxiety by providing comfort, kindness, and understanding. As we keep saying, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the like, shares, and follow. If you haven't followed, go ahead and follow, which creates a sense of security. Thank you so much. Which creates a sense of security. Now, it also buffers negative emotions. It helps you comfort difficult emotions like failure or rejection without the self-blame and keeping anxiety in check. Okay. It also decreases stress response, calming the body by shifting out of the fight or flight mode and into a more relaxed state. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the like, share, and follow. I ask that you continue to follow and share it out. Now, here's another way. The cycle of it all. Let's look at the cycle of it all. Let's look at perfectionism. That part right there. Perfectionism is high standard. Guess what that leads to fear of failure. And that fear of failure leads to harsh self-criticism. That harsh self-criticism leads to anxiety and stress. And guess what all that adds up to? You just created your destiny of failure. You become what you think. That's why you change the way you think, change the way you speak, you change your environment. But if you think negative, you're going to have a negative outcome. Do you understand? There's no way that you can think negative and act for a positive result. So a negative plus a positive, you can't help but get a negative result, because that negative is going to outweigh that positive. You understand? Okay. So now let's look at self-compassion. Self-compassion breaks the perfectionism by offering kindness, normalizing imperfection, and building resilience, leading to healthier goals and reduced anxiety. That's the state that you want to get in. Let's talk about this. Now, when you're healing, a lot of people don't understand what healing is. They just think healing is, they're trying to find it. You just hear people saying, oh, you need to heal. But okay, tell me how to heal. What do you mean by heal? I'm healing. I thought I healed, but you didn't heal. What you did is learn how to cope with the things that's going on in your life by not allowing it to take you over the edge like it used to. See, it used to make you crash out. Now you don't crash out anymore. You just like, all right, cool. But it's still triggering something in you. It's still bothering you. Yes. So it's still bothering you because you never got to the root of the problem. That's what healing is to get to the root of the problem so those same people cannot come. It's not the same people. It's always different people, but you have the same problem with the same person. So even if you tell somebody, if a guy was dating you and he said, hey, tell me about your relationships. Oh, they all cheat. Every last one of them cheat. And then all of a sudden they'll look at you like you're the problem. And it's not that you're the problem. You just never learned the lesson. Meaning that they all cheat because you allowed them to cheat. Meaning that you never created boundaries for yourself. You created just being a good, kind person. You're a kind person. You're a loving person, but you don't love yourself. And the reason why I say you don't love yourself, because if you loved yourself, you would not allow anybody to mistreat you because you understand how valuable and important your time is. So when I say heal, that means that get to the root of the problem. Why do you allow people into your life to change you, to take from you, to use you, to mistreat you, to do these things? Why do that happen? Why is it happening? Why is this even a thing, right? And those are the type things. You get to the root of it. It started back in your childhood because somewhere in your childhood, something went wrong that you felt like you needed to people please or overgive, or it had to be okay. I don't even care if it was your mother telling you about your sibling. Don't hit your sibling back, and your sibling do something to you. Don't say just let them do it. That was right there creating that low self-esteem in you by allowing people to run over you. You understand? It always starts at home. The brokenness starts at home. Whether or not, I don't care if you had a mom that gave you a hug every night, told you she loved you, read your bedtime stories, tucked you in at night, made sure you had a good meal, made sure all these things. Sometimes toxicity becomes part of the values and the morals of the home, and you grow up in it and thinking that it's normal. I'll give you an example. Hey, no matter what you do, you always take care of your brother, your sister. No matter what happened, you always do this. We're family first, blood ties, blah, 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 blah. Well, that is very toxic. And the reason why it's very toxic is because you're never going to get ahead and be successful in the things that you want to do because you're always stuck to a timeline that, hey, I can't move forward unless they move forward. And if they don't want to move forward, then I can't move forward. That's a generational curse that needs to be broken. So, by having the self-compassion, you can speak to yourself. You can speak a thing to yourself and you can say, okay, it is okay. The guilt from saying no, the guilt from saying, I don't want to take on this anymore. I'm not going to reach back. I'm not going to bring you up here. The guilt from that, the self-compassion is telling yourself, you don't have to be guilty for that. It is okay. Everybody, we all were born with purpose, but you have to understand that is the reality of life. Now, I'm not saying don't help your siblings out, don't help your family out. I will help my family out, but the problem is I've created boundaries now. I don't overgive anymore. I don't just go out of my way to pick up my phone and say, hey, I know that you got this going on, and I was just thinking of some ways that I could put some money in your pocket. I don't do that anymore because the same way I had to heal, you have to heal. So that's what healing is. Now, let's jump into talking to yourself with gentleness. That is the first step of learning how to love yourself. Let's get into it. When you are a perfectionist, you want to replace inner criticism with self-compassionate phrases. Let's talk about some phrases. Let's look at mistakes. Mistakes are learning opportunities, not failure. That's how you need to look at mistakes. They're learning opportunities, they're not failures. And then you want to practice mindfulness. This will help you catch all of the should thoughts and the name calling, the I shoulda. Man, I'm stupid. I messed up. Man, that's not going to work. Man, I'm not good enough, or I should have did this. I shouldn't have applied for that job. I should have. Practicing mindfulness will help you catch those things, right? And then turn those negative phrases into supportive phrases. Let's look at it like this. That's too hard. I can't do that. That's too hard. That's not me. That's way out of my league. But if you turn into this is hard, but I'm doing my best. This is hard, but I'm going to try my best. This is challenging, but I'm up for the challenge. Do you understand? Because you have to remember, in every job that you apply for or that you're in, someone also failed at certain things in that job as well. They just forget about that. It's kind of like when you become a parent for the first time, everybody tell you this one thing: you got to sleep when that baby sleep. That doesn't make sense at all. Now, let me explain to you why it doesn't make sense. Because if you are a single parent and you're raising a baby and they say sleep when the baby sleep, well, how's stuff going to get done around the house? How's the other kids going to get fed? Who's going to cook? Who's going to clean the bottles that the baby just went through all night? Who's going to do those things? See, people give advice from a place of where they are today, but they forget what they went through back then. They had help. They had people there to help, because back then family meant something. You had a baby, your mama going to stay with you for months. You had a baby, your siblings going to be, everybody in the family pitched in and took care. But they forget about their life and they jump straight into the right now. You got to do this. Don't give me your advice and you're not even looking at my situation. Those type things. So let's look at, so this is hard, but I'm up for the challenge. Ways you can shift your inner talk. You can become more aware. More aware. Let's use the RPI to acknowledge, release, practice, inner explore, and empowerment. That's the RPI. So let's look at ways to shift your inner talk and become aware is to acknowledge. Acknowledge your self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? Okay? Then you want to release that negative self-talk. Then you want to practice positive self-talk. Then you want to inner explore the root cause. Where did it come from? Where did you learn to speak to yourself that way? And then you want to empower by declaring. You always want to declare a thing in your life. Declare it because it is so. It is meant that it is so. Okay? And then you can try this method. Use the friend test. The friend test. What is the friend test? Would you talk to your friend that way? Talk to yourself the way you would talk to your friend. Would I say this stuff to my friend if they came to me? When you motivating your friend, would you tell your friend, oh no, you stupid, you just need to quit, you're not good enough? Would you do that to your friend? No. So why would you do it to you? It just goes to show self-love. What's inside of you? The self-love that you lack for yourself. That you're willing to take care of everyone else, but you don't see your own self-worth, which is the self-esteem issues. Okay? Now, I want you to do this exercise with you guys. It's called the compassionate reframing. With the compassionate reframing, I want you to identify a mistake you made recently. A mistake that you made recently, and I want you to write a compassionate response you give a friend. A mistake you made, but if that was your friend, write that compassionate response as if you was giving it to a friend. And then I want you to apply it to yourself. That's the exercise. It's called compassionate reframing, and that's what I want you to do. Now, the body exercise, because this is Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp. Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. Welcome to Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp. I'm your instructor, Coach Nye. Anytime that you watch any of my videos or come into my live, you're automatically enrolled. But so I teach you the spiritual, mental, and the physical. So here's the physical aspect. This is the warm hand technique. I want you to take your warm hands and place them on your cheeks or your chest. Whenever you're experiencing stress, this reassures gentleness. This reassures that you're being gentle with yourself. Whenever you feel like you're about to crash out, whatever it is, I need you to touch. I need you to feel. Because this is you. What are you feeling right now? This person may have triggered you, but I need you to recognize and get present of you the one going to jail. You the one about to lose everything. I need you to calm you down. You can't expect someone else to calm you down because they don't know you. And then the world that we live in, they don't care to calm you down. They need you to react so they can pick up their phone and start recording. But I'm teaching you how to self-regulate. You calm yourself down. Okay? Now, your self-love practice. This is what I want you to say. It's okay to be human. I choose compassion. It's okay to be human. I choose compassion. And your daily declaration. I give myself the grace I give others. I give myself the grace I give others. That is your daily declaration. And then you got homework. You got homework and you got journaling prompts, okay? So here's one of your homework assignments. I want you to write 10 compassionate statements to use during hard moments. 10 compassionate statements to use during hard moments. So this is what I created. I created these. I call them the Trinity of Fitness healing prompts. And I have you guys journal and I have you guys to meditate on it. Strengthen others through compassion. It's right on point, ain't it? Strengthen others through compassion. So the same way, write 10 compassionate statements to use during hard times. In those moments, guess what? Strengthen others through compassion. Okay, through compassion. Right now I'm upset. I need to be compassionate to myself. I need to calm down because you're the example. Listen, people are looking at you. Whether you want to react or respond, it does not matter. They're looking at you and they're looking at you to do something, right? And those people, they may want you to react in the way that they know and they can understand, which is a bad reaction, a bad way of thinking that can make you lose everything. However, pride will allow you and make you act out that way. But when you are healing and healed, you will never act out that way. And then you become the example because you let pride go. And yes, people are going to look at you. It may be some, oh, she was scared. He was scared. Yeah, but you don't have anything to prove to them. And as time go on, you continue to stand in your purpose and your power. Then those same people will start wanting to be like you, trying to figure out, okay, how did you self-regulate? How did you do that? I want to learn how to do that because now they admire you because they realize how they're reacting is straight chaos and chaotic. So write 10 compassionate statements to use during hard moments. And let me tell you how to build your bank up. How you build your bank up is, I tell you guys, whenever you come to class, you get a notebook anyway. You got to do homework. When I teach you, I also teach you how to journal. And with those journals, I also tell you, you have to have a journal for every different situation, right? I had a journal for my business idea. I had a journal for my dreams. I had a journal just for jotting whatever random come to my mind and things like that. You build that bank up. And how you build it up, maybe you can't think of 10 compassionate things right now, but guess what? Tomorrow somebody gonna throw you off. In that moment, I need you to come up with one compassionate thing in that moment. And then I need you to add that to your bank because this is a journal that you're going to go back to. Journals are not for the right now. It's for you to go back to. You got to look at a journal like the Bible. Let me explain to you why I say the Bible. Because the Bible is nothing but journals. Meaning it is the account of people that their account with God, their experiences with God, and what they went through in those times, right? And we go back to the Bible because we're going through something. And we go back to the Bible to help us get through the next thing. Your testimony is just as important as those people that put that they have their testimony in the Bible. The testimonies didn't stop. God didn't stop being God. God didn't stop being the greatest God of all. God didn't stop being I am back in the biblical times. No, man said this is all that's going to be the Bible and we're going to close it right there. But your testimony still matters. It is no such thing as a modern day miracle from God. He is the same God that he was back then. It's just that the enemy had you thinking that, hey, your testimony don't matter. The only testimonies that matter is in this Bible. But baby, we need you. Your example is a testimony. Someone needs you. When you operate in purpose, your purpose is because someone needs you. Me teaching these classes right now because someone needs it. It's not just I'm just doing it, say, look at me, I'm beating my chest. It's because I'm in purpose. Someone needs it. I don't know who needs it, but God put me here that I can teach it. So create it in the moment. Write a statement. Write a self-compassionate statement or a compassionate statement and during the hard times. That is your homework. But here's your journaling prompt. What would compassion look like in my daily life? What would compassion look like in my daily life? And how have I been too hard on myself? And then I want you to meditate on it. Because when you meditate on it, you visualize it. Why is it so important to write and visualize? Because I'm writing, right? I'm putting down and I'm answering this question because it's truth I'm putting down. When I journal it, it's truth. Because why would you lie in a journal? Journals are not your diary. What I'm saying is, this is your most sacred space right here, that journal in you, and you're writing your truth. And then you're going to meditate on how to become better than that. Whatever that truth is, what would self-compassion look like in my daily life? Well, what do your daily life look like? Is it chaotic? Okay, it's chaotic. So if I add self-compassion, what would it look like then? And then how have I been too hard on myself? It's going to make you think. Because once you start thinking about you've been too hard on yourself, well, I haven't applied for these jobs because I'm too hard on myself. I'm scared I'm not going to make it. Okay, now I want you to trace it back to the root. Where in your life did you feel that you wasn't good enough? Who told you that? Who made you feel? What happened? That's the root. Now I want you to meditate. Now I want you to visualize your life. If your self-esteem was good, if you wasn't too hard on yourself, and your daily life was full of self-compassion, I want you to envision what you see your life to be and then become. That's what meditation is. What you see becomes your reality. Okay? Now, I also give you some tabletop talk for the ones that's new. The tabletop talk is for your friends, people, your peers, your coworkers, your family, whatever it is. Because a lot of people heal. They go through their healing journey and then they disconnect and cut everybody off. You know, they just like, nope, I can't do that. I'm better than that. I'm doing this now. I can't. And that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And the reason why I say you're not supposed to be doing that, because that's not how God worked. Jesus never told the disciples, you know what, you just ain't getting it. Or he never told anybody outside of the disciples, no, we on a mission right now. We on this Christ-like conscious. We over here doing things. We over here meditating. We talking to God. We making plans. And we're about to change the whole future. We're about to make the world evolve. So you can't be a part of it because you still over here trying to collect taxes. He never said that. What he did is became the example, just like you. When you're healing, you become the example. I have people in my life that just ain't going to do right. They just ain't going to do right. But that does not mean that I have to do what they do. What it means is I have to continue to be the example, meaning that the craziness that you do does not define or affect me. However, it is not my job to ring you up every time and say, here, fix this, do this, get over here, do this right. No. So I lead by example. That's why the tabletop talk is so important. However, because you healed, now you can come to the table and you can speak. You're going to speak now from wisdom. I'm not talking about go to the table and act like you better than somebody. You can't do that. No. Speak from wisdom. So here's some talking points that I give out for you to take to the tabletop. Here it is. Self-compassion is not weakness. It's emotional intelligence. Self-compassion is not weakness. It's emotional intelligence. You can break it down any way you want, but I'll give you a way. So one thing that I learned about myself is that I was not being kind to myself. I lacked self-compassion for myself. And through my healing journey, I realized that I thought that was weak. I thought if I cried or if, I showed any sensitive or any emotions that way, that I was weak and that people would take advantage of me. But what I've learned is that it's not. It's emotionally intelligent, meaning that I put the right emotion to the right feeling. The right emotion to the right feeling, meaning that I put the primary and not the secondary. Thank y'all for the like, shares, and the follow. I ask you guys to follow. Listen, so here, this is how it goes. So someone made me cry. The primary is they made you cry. That means they hurt your feelings. Your feelings are hurt. And what emotion do you give to it? Cry. Maybe some tears. Be sad. However, a lot of people lead with the secondary, which is somebody hurt your feelings. Your emotion is they made you sad, all right? Your feelings was hurt. And how are you going to react? Anger. My emotion is anger. I'm ready to fight. Wrong. Wrong. You become emotionally intelligent when you learn that self-compassion is not your weakness. Now, the next one is how does harsh self-talk show up in your life? When do you start speaking very negative to yourself? How does it show up? Does it show up when you're mad? Does it show up when people taking advantage of you? Does it show up in your relation? How does it show up? How does that harsh self-talk show up in your life? Well, you could take it to the table just like that, or you could say, one thing that I've learned as I'm going through my healing journey is that I speak so negative over myself when I'm frustrated, when I don't know how to articulate my words. I immediately get in defense mode. Now I don't want to talk. I just want to fight. Now that everybody related to that, didn't you? because I can't get the words out. Because now if I get the word out, then I'm going to start stumbling over my words because I'm so mad. I get so frustrated. And then they're going to say something. I'm going to make myself look stupid. And then therefore, now I got to fight everybody. Matter of fact, go get your mama. Line up too. You understand? No. So how does harsh self-talk show up in your life? So I'm going to read them to you one more time. The tabletop talk is self-compassion is not weakness, it's emotional intelligence. And how does harsh self-talk show up in your life? Now, that is the end of this lesson.